What's cracking, everybody? Rose here with a Sleeping Maggie, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle content in today's video. We're going to be looking at probably one of the best teams that I have played entirely this week in the Ultra League Premier Cup Classic, as we're sending off this wonderful, amazing meta, honestly. Last time we get to play it, so picking some of the favorites, Aurorus and Lycanroc in the back as a double rock backline ABB with a Shadow Gyarados in the lead. In my opinion, you kind of need the Gyarados to be Shadow. Up to you if you want to go with like the double Legacy. If you want to just go single Legacy with the Aqua Tail, that's okay, but I would definitely consider putting Dragon Tail on a good Shadow if you've got one built already. Aurorus and Lycanroc, like you can tell, this whole team, if you see Charizard, you're going to delete it. That's going to be the whole point of this team, is you beat Charizard everywhere. And even my Lycanroc, like look, the IVs on that thing are not PvP IVs. I just had a hundo and I'm like, I'm going to build this thing. So we're going to get into these battles real quick here. Again, this team made up by actually one of my patron supporters, the Terminal Sump. So shout outs to him for the team idea. This actually was not one of my originals, but I always love when one of my community members brings up a team. And honestly, the entire patron server has been slapping with this team all week, gaining a lot of points with it. So if you'd like to become a part of that server, great community. Great place to get good teams and tips before they go on YouTube or even in public eye, period. Link in the description to the Patreon Discord for that. And if you're looking for coaching, taking your game to the next level, whether that be to the next Ace rank, Veteran rank, or eventually hitting Legend, or just your own next personal best, all that's to be proud of, to be honest. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Metafy link in the description is the place to go to get coaching if you're looking to improve any aspect of your game. Let's get into the battles now that I've shielded myself long enough. And right here we go. That is not the right button. I was supposed to play the music, but you know what? Technical difficulties are already a minute and a half into this thing, so we see a really bad lead right off the bat, and we see a really bad counter swap right off the bat. So this sucks. So Shadow Gyarados gets countered by an Ampharos lead, and then my opponent has a Surfetched in the back in order to just, yeah. So I'm actually going to put up a shield here to force a shield off my opponent. And I think, quite honestly, I could have just countered down, but instead we have a Simul KO. They had 1 HP after the counter. I thought that I'd be able to counter him down. So my bad. So what ends up happening here is a complete coin toss. My Aurorus comes in against their Gliscor, and at this point, I've got the game won. My opponent having the Ampharos in the back now means that they have basically gotten the alignment off. I want to keep my Gliscor here, but it also means that I'm going to be able to get it against the Ampharos too. Basically, me being able to farm up that energy against the Gliscor, their Aurorus basically now has to be forced in against my Aurorus. Their Ampharos has to be forced in against my Aurorus because the Gliscor will absolutely get demolished by it. And then that means the Gyarados then gets to be lined up against it. So either way, bringing in Aurorus thankfully was good. I was afraid they'd have double fighters, so as soon as I saw another fighter, I would have been like, I'm done. But so thankfully it worked out. So the opponent shields the Meteor Beam. I want the attack boost. I'm just going to go for it. I don't have any shields left. And all they're going to have is Thunder Punches, which thankfully don't completely KO me. So I'm just looking to go for another Meteor Beam here. Yeah. I love Meteor Beam, by the way. I think it's great because of that. And now I'm going to be able to chunk so much damage off of this Gliscor, and they're going to have to go for a Night Slash to take out my Aurorus before I get to the Weather Ball. But that's okay because Gyarados just gets to a couple Dragon Tails, and that's going to be able to take out the Gliscor. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Something I don't think you've heard very much lately. So next game here, just a set. I only had a couple sets, and I, just had to get this team in before the end of the weekend, right? Opponent comes in with a Walrein, I come in with a Lycanroc. That's going to be great because I'm going to be able to go for Psychic Fangs, and unfortunately, I do have to shield in this matchup. Potentially double shield, I guess it depends on the opponent. You can try and call the Earthquake. However, I have a 100% track record of being wrong, so I just started to shield. Every time I shield, it's Icicle Spear. On the one chance, one time, that I decide not to shield, it's always the Earthquake, every time. So I just, at this point, I just shield Icicle Spears at this point. Because I'll sometimes feel gutsy and try and shield it, but it just doesn't work. So my opponent is forced to shield here in order to get to their Earthquake. And I will let this go, because I noted that their lead was not exactly anti-Aurorus. So alignment here isn't going to be as huge. And they come in with Swampert against my Gyarados. Not ideal for my opponent. So I think here, what is the better play? Honestly, I think I should have gone for Switch just to guarantee. But my opponent most likely has Charizard in the back, and I think that's kind of what I was betting on when I let my Lycanroc go. Is I was expecting to have the Charizard in the back. So Swampert does not have the firepower, unless it's a Shadow, to take out Gyarados in any even shield scenario. So Hydro Cannon is going to go, and then my opponent actually has a Dragonite instead. So now we're good. I'm going to go for the Crunch here, hoping to get my opponent's last shield, and then Aurorus is going to come in, get to a Weather Ball very quickly, and then I should easily be able to take out the Swampert. My opponent knows that, and they concede the match. Going into this next game here, you got Gyarados against Dragonite. So, Gyarados, by the way, a brand new build of mine that I just made recently, and it is getting so many good leads in this cup. So, Gyarados in general just is winning a lot of leads right now, and this is only a Seed Bomb, so I'm not going to shield it. Still does a lot of damage, but I probably should have just come in with my Aurorus right away. I was hoping to get a shield. You know, I know Aurorus is going to have better chance against the Dragonite, but honestly, in hindsight, definitely coming in with Aurorus against the Trevenant is the play here. So I'm going to go straight for an Aqua Tail, hoping my opponent maybe shields, and if they don't, I'm also going to hope they have Charizard in the back again, because that's just that's the whole premise of this team. I will come in with my Aurorus and try to snipe down. This is worth a shield to me, because it's a lot of damage potentially. Even though Aurorus is thick, that's still a Trevenant. So I'm going to be able to farm down and shield this Shadow Ball, and we are even shields. My opponent comes in with a Magnezone. That is not what I was expecting for them to do. I was really hoping for Charizard. I really was, because this whole team just, as we've said, annihilates Charizard. But because Magnezone's pretty squishy, I may have a chance here. And because of the bulk on Aurorus, I feel like maybe I can live a Mirror Shot. Because they're going to go Wild Charge, they're going to go Mirror Shot. They go Mirror Shot. Double super effective damage, but doesn't actually do much. It actually only takes me into the yellow. So, I have a very slight chance here. Now, unfortunately for me, I've realized at this point that if I hadn't hard swapped like that, and if I had just brought in my Aurorus, it would have been fine. Would have been just fine. But hindsight is 20/20, as they say. My opponent is going to have a Dragonite, and it's going to clobber the absolute bejesus out of my Lycanroc at this point. And I am going to try and make a catch. I don't know how much energy this thing is at. I'm just trying to put on as many debuffs as I possibly can, and then I'm going to look to try and catch a move on Gyarados, but I have no idea the count, so it's completely up to chance whether I get there or not. So I'm just like, alright, I'm going to go 2 more counters, and I'm going to swap. If it works, great. I win the game. If not, shoot. And so let's see. Now, opponent is not going to be able to fall for my ploy here. They didn't actually have to throw energy. They could have farmed down before I even got to a move. So well done on their part. Only way that I could possibly have won that game was by getting that catch. So very well done by them. It was very good. Got a couple more games in the set here, and I promise you they're not losses. All right. So I must have forgot to cut out my queue times again. Man, I'm so bad at this. I used to be so good at cutting out the queue times. Well, anyway, let's talk real quick about queue times. I hope you're not high elo right now, because that's where the queue times suck. But anyway, so we got a battle. Let's get into it here. Gyarados on the lead versus Swampert. Again, every lead seems to be Swampert, Charizard, Gyarados. Very, very few leads that actually beat Gyarados. So it works out very much in the favor of this team, is able to force a swap out into the Walrein. And I used to swap in my Aurorus to the Walrein, but I find that Lycanroc just makes more sense. And while, yes, I do have to shield up Icicle Spears, because that's how it happens every single time, I am never able to avoid it. This, however, my opponent throws the Icicle Spear beforehand, and I think they realized they weren't getting to a second one. They weren't getting to a Earthquake. So one of the really big things that you can do with Lycanroc on this team, by the way, is identify a situation where you can farm down and come out with a bunch of energy. If you can come out with some energy, some extra health, go for a couple Psychic Fangs in a row, you can easily, do a lot of damage. Like, this will take off half the health of the Swampert by itself just by going for these Psychic Fangs and the counters. And that's going to be really huge, because that allows a Lycanroc to have more than done its job at this point. So, yeah, the Swampert's half gone. Lycanroc by itself took out Walrein and half the opponent's Swampert. And then they're going to come in with a Muck. Aurorus counter swaps. Rock resists poison, and the Muck has no chance. My opponent actually surrenders, which is totally fine with me. Last game against a veteran who has fallen from grace, sadly. Hopefully they can make the climb back up. Gyarados against the S-Cavalier. They come in with a wall rain. I immediately, once again, respond with my Lycanroc. And I know that this seems like it's an ideal situation. You know, oh, he had a good set because he had a lot of people playing the same thing. Like, this is legitimately the meta right now in this cup. It's literally weak to Gyarados, Wall Rain, Safe Swap, Charizard, and back. That seems to be like the bread and butter of this. So once again, Shield and Icicle Spear. I'm telling you, as soon as I finished this set and I went and did another one without the reporting software on, I was like, oh, I'm going to 5-head this person and I'm not going to shield this Earthquake. And then, or I'm not going to shield this Icicle Spear bait because they know that they can do it. And then, of course, it's a freaking Earthquake and they one-shot my Lycanroc. So I'm just so torn about that whole thing, man. But this is a situation where I decided to go down 2 shields to 1 shield to guarantee that I have switch advantage here, because obviously I cannot let my Gyarados get off of this S-Cavalier. Now, I should have gone for Crunch here. That was kind of stupid on my part. I thought I would be able to get the 2 Psychic Fangs, but unfortunately the Crunch is really what I should have done here. And then we get some lag, and I don't know what's going on. My opponent comes in with Muck, and so once again, this time I'm actually going to play it out. I don't think they surrendered this time. Because I have no shields, they might think they have a chance. But the truth is that Aurorus is so bulky. Look at it, Dark Pulse Dark Pulse tickles, dude. So I'm going to go straight for Meteor Beam. My opponent still has a shield, and they're going to have to use it here if they have any hopes of keeping their Muck alive, because that Meteor Beam is going to hurt. And so they do decide, indeed, to shield the Muck. And so I'm going to go straight for the Meteor Beam again, because I want to hit my Kaboom button one last time in this video. And also because I want to give my opponent as little farm as possible. So I overfarm a little bit. I'm going to hope to try and maybe get to the, maybe like a Weather Ball or something before they take me out. Oh. But I'm not going to be able to get there. So I just essentially need to get to 1 Aqua Tail and take out this S-Cavalier. They have a lot of energy from farming down my other 2 Pokemon. So they're going to go for Mega Horn. That is going to do a considerable amount of damage. But thanks to the 2 Dragon Tails and the Aqua Tail, this is going to KO the S-Cavalier, and that's going to cap off a nice 4-1 set with this team. And I had a bunch of sets with this team just like this, as did my Patreon Discord members. We kind of just picked up this team after the Terminal Sump had recommended it to us. Shout outs to you again, man. You're just a great friend of mine, and student and everything. Just one of my star members. My entire Patreon Discord is star members. I love all of you equally. So that's going to do it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for checking out this battles and checking out this team. Let me know in the comments how your Ultra League Premier Cup Classic's going. And if you try this team, hopefully you goes well. I'm seeing the meta kind of shifted towards more fighters and Gallade and things that aren't Charizard. So this team kind of needs Charizard to be in the meta a lot to be super good, but still has a lot of play in other places. So hopefully all y'all have a great rest of your Ultra League Premier Cup. We'll be catching you in the next video. Thank you, and bye-bye.